My mom told me not to talk to strangers on the internet, but I'm glad I didn't listen. We are the Certified Nunas, your sisters in the love of Asian entertainment.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
I'm Jessie.
I'm Natalia.
And I'm Sky.
Today we're talking about IU's new series of short art films on Netflix called Persona. But before that, what's everyone been watching?
What have I been watching? Still Mother of Mine. Still love it. It's just easy. It's good. I like it.
Really good.
Even the horrible mother-in-law, I haven't caught up on this past weekends yet, but the weekend before that, the good mom and her daughter were starting to fight back and hold their own a little bit against the evil mother-in-law, and her husband was like, "You're kind of a horrible woman and maybe you should be a better grandma." So kind of making her be nicer and be better, and it's kind of good that way. So it's nice to see them growing backbones and stuff. So I like that. I started watching more of Golden Eyes again because I was in the mood. Still love it. So dorky, but I love it.
I know.
Serious.
So cute. I just need to, sorry to interrupt, but the show is, I have no idea if it's doing well because I don't know anyone besides people like us who would really be into this show because it's not that exciting. It seems like it's going to be the most exciting show, but he spends most of his time just appraising antiques and gemstones and having terse dinners with people who don't know he has magical powers. It's so good. It's so good.
It's so
It's exactly what we said we wanted.
Life about an antique stealer, but he happens to have supernatural powers. It's just
yeah. But he just wants to be an antique stealer and learn about antiques, and
he's not gonna let this supernatural power stop him from his love of antiques.
No, he's using it to enhance his love of antiques, not take advantage. And he doesn't take advantage of anyone. He's amazing.
So nice.
He's the only person in history who deserved this superpower. He's not gonna abuse it.
I finished Clean with Passion, which, whatever, it's done. It was cute. It's over. It wasn't life-altering, but I enjoyed watching it. Caution Hazardous Wife, I finished. Also good. Stayed good right through to the end. The end could have, used a little more punch, in my opinion, but it still got the job done. So that was good. I tried to start Her Private Life today. Not really feeling it too much, but
it's just a few episodes,
and I'm told it gets a lot better after the first episode. So
yeah, it does.
It just feels like there's a lot of setup for what it is.
They start to really grow on you in episode 2, the characters, because I found in the first episode he was kind of the biggest D-bag in the world, but then by the second episode, you're kind of really being okay. He's just sort of kind of an asshole, but with a heart of gold. And so he's more a tsundere type character. But by the end of episode 3, no spoilers, you're yes, I am shipping, yes, all of it. Man, yes.
All right, well, I'll push through.
Good.
And History 3 started today. It's so cute. So cute.
His ears stuffed of hair. Oh. Right now what you can't see is Jessie and Sky looking at us both kind of blankly because they are not
as
watching.
You guys are fangirling wildly.
Oh, but you guys should watch it. It's
you have no idea. Okay.
I have way too much stuff. I'm not going to watch it. Sorry.
We have all been by we all, I mean our BL book club have all been hyped, so hyped for this, and it is not disappointing us. So
it's the story of a gangster and a cop who fall in love.
Yeah.
And their sidekicks are gonna fall in love. It's a whole thing. But it's third season in what have been really well done. Well, okay. The first season has really, really good stories, but really bad production value.
Yeah.
But really good stories. And then the second season of History had
Pretty good
both.
story.
Like, they were pretty good production
Yeah.
and pretty good stories. Pretty stellarly good, the second half, the second story. But they're like short stories.
Yeah.
So,
This one, they're doing their
not
first.
so short. It's 20 episodes. Like the last one, I think the first season they were 4 episodes. There was 4 stories that were 4 episodes each. And then the second one, there was 2 stories that were 8 episodes each. And then this year, there's like 2 stories that are 20 episodes each. So
Yeah, it is coming for us. It is coming for us hard this episode. Yeah. They were also been like the director and stuff is like, oh, forget what you saw in the previous things. It's gonna be hot. It's gonna be spicy. Like it's gonna be the gay romance y'all deserve. And what I like about it is that the dude is like openly bisexual. In the gangster. He's just like, yeah, I like ladies. I like men. What of it? Here, have a suit. Look at
Which is nice because typically, actually, I find in the Taiwanese gay stories, more frequently one of them's actually gay. Like, they're actually gay. It's a lot of times in these stories, it's like, nobody's gay. They just love each other. I don't like men. I just like you. And
I feel like that's a cop-out because that means you're clearly bisexual. You just mostly prefer women and haven't realized you also like men until you meet the one dude. But I'm like, you don't just go, like, you don't have to be like, I have absolutely no attraction to men, and all of a sudden you're like, time to have some gay sex. Like, that's not really how it works. But whatever, we don't judge. But the Taiwanese ones, there's usually a gay character, so...
Yeah.
It's great.
Pretty much it for me. I haven't been watching a lot. I've been reading a lot more this past couple weeks. So, how about you, Jessie?
I'm almost caught up on Mother of Mine. I have like one more half-hour episode from this past week. I was sick this weekend, and it was like a not fun sick. Like I couldn't even like watch regular TV. I couldn't like watch anything. So
horrible.
I didn't get to watch as much stuff as I want, but I really like Mother of Mine. I've been enjoying that. Like, the only storyline I really am not, like, cool with or, like, I can, just do some other things while it's, like, playing is the younger sister storyline. I still just don't like her. Also, like, the romantic storyline that's, like, gonna, like, it's obviously gonna happen. Like, I'm like, she doesn't deserve either of the two of her, like, romantic coupling. So I'm like, I'm just not
unpleasant. And I mean, the guy, the publisher guy is like, he's not a bad dude, but he's not really likable either. He's that like cold, mean guy who's gonna grow
like obviously out of her league too. So it gets this weird like thing, and I don't want to judge because like whatever, I really like different things, but I'm just like and also it's definitely the actress's fault in a lot of this too, because like the mother-in-law is terrible, but the actress playing the mother-in-law is doing such a good job. Or like also the husband, her son, is also a terrible like human being, but you're still like you're okay with his acting choices. And then the younger sister, she's doing some weird stuff that I'm like, she's going like over the top when it's like it's supposed to be over the top, but everybody else is here and like at a good, like all really fine actors, and then she's not, and she's going over the top, and you're like,
she turned it to 11 for no reason.
She cries a lot, and she's really bad at it. Like it's
I hate that. I hate when people are bad at
and
crying.
then, so like she's over the top whiny. There are moments when you should really actually be like sad for her character, and I'm like, I'm not sorry for any of your like hardships. So
she's not a nice character. Like she's whiny and bratty.
She's like the worst out of the sisters.
Yeah, then having a bad actress on it too, you're just like, ugh.
Yeah, but it's fine. I mean, it's just a little portion of the show, and I like everything else. I really love the middle sister. Yeah, and the granddaughter is absolutely adorable. She's a really good actress too, so that's also where you're like, the like 5-year-old is a great actress. Like
5-year-old out acting you. And maybe you might want to rethink your career choices.
Still good. I'm still in it, and I'm enjoying it. I watched a couple of episodes of Holiday Love, which I had been watching. I still don't know what to think about that show, but I'm gonna finish it probably because
Did you figure out which genre it was?
I guess adultery, like suspense, but not thriller suspense. I don't know. Still, we're at the like.
You're still working on it.
I'm like halfway through the series, and I'm like, I don't know, and then like, I just don't know. But that's Japanese dramas. They like to do that a lot. So I mean, yeah, I did watch the first 2 episodes of Her Private Life. I'm sorry, guys. I actually really do not like this show. And I'm not the type of person that can, like, if I pretty much know if I'm not going to like a show first off. And it was really hard for me to watch the first episode. And then I forced myself into the second episode. And I was like, nope. Third, I can't get to 4. So, sorry. I'm officially dropping it.
You don't have to be sorry. We all like different things, man.
I do. I will really say that I very much enjoyed in the second episode her and the friend and the brother at the karaoke bar. That scene was great. Which is sad because I think everybody's doing a fine job in it too, but
yeah, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing, right? No harm and no foul.
Have I been watching anything else? I don't think so. I think that might be it. But I also watch variety shows too, so I watch those. They're every week, so it's kind of pointless to talk about it. What about you, Natalia?
Well, for me, I mostly watch variety because it's sort of like getting on the tail end of winter, and I just want it to be over, so they cheer me up. But I've also been watching Her Private Life, and I do really enjoy it. It's fine, whatever, you know. It's not a masterpiece of a show by any means, but I find it fun, so that's all that really matters. And I've also been watching Golden Eyes because my boy, my little fella. And I've also been just gonna be copies. I've also been watching History 3 because obviously you just heard me go on about how much in love with it I am. Other than that, like there's some stuff on my list that I like keep meaning to watch. Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. I'm still watching. I picked up A Celebrity on the Street. I need to catch up to it.
What episode are you on?
I think I'm on like episode 5.
I think you're ahead of me now. I think I finished 4.
It's so funny, but like dark. It's dark funny. Like it shouldn't. It's these situations that really shouldn't be funny, but they're just doing such a good job. Like there's like a scene where her mother shows up and he's chained up in her house. So she's like, he's my boyfriend. That's why he's chained up here. The mother's like, oh. And she's just like looking at him chained up, and she's like, oh, well, if that's what you're into, I'm not here to judge.
Oh my God.
Well, have a good day. And I'm just like, clearly it's not like a sexual chain up. Like he's just clearly just chained to this woman's wall. And the mom's just like, those youngsters these days. But like, that sort of humor that I'm not really sure how they're getting away with it. You know what I mean?
That's a web drama.
You know what? That's probably why. But, like, I think that the show would sort of fail if Sung-hoon and the girl didn't have they both have perfect comedic timing for what's happening in the show. So like if they didn't, the show would be like just sort of hard to watch, but because like they're just so good,
it's the tone of it. They're able to keep like the perfect tone.
It's like because it's like a really weird tone to strike because there's always like the show, if you just like talk about the plot of the show, it's real dark and messed up, but like it's a comedy. And even like the opening credits are like it's like the opening credits are from like an OCN like murder drama, and then it's just so stupidly funny that you're just like, oh my God, like what am I watching? Like why is this funny? But it's really good. Other than that, I was watching some gasp American shows. I know. I was watching Lucifer on Netflix. I was sucked in by
promos.
Yeah.
By the visuals. What can I say? And so keep it up with Shadowhunters because I hate myself. Like a real masochistic streak that I have. Like I'm suffer by watching terrible shows. What about you, Sky?
So I was gone for 5 days, so I couldn't watch everything I wanted to watch, but I did catch up on Her Private Life, which I love to pieces because I guess all the K-pop fangirl, just the nuances of that, like really crack me up. Like every little thing she's doing, I've seen reflected.
I've met people like that.
Either someone I know or a circumstance I've read about or something. So it's really it's really funny that they're actually calling out a lot of that stuff. Or what really slayed me was they did a flashback of when she was growing up as a K-pop fan. So through her little which fandom she was in and the fact that they were actually dragging in real fandom stuff was just I did like that, cute. Yeah. And I really like their chemistry, and it's an enemies thing, and that's like my thing. Yeah. I was smiling the whole time, like I'm happy. Even first episode, I mean, I was pleased. That was good. So that's totally my.
You and I are the same on this one. We're just here to have a good time.
I was happy. I watched a little bit of I Hate You, Juliet, because they're really short episodes. They're like 20 minutes a pop. So I watched a few of those. I also, because of the K3, they actually mentioned Special Labor Inspector Joe, and I wasn't interested in it, probably just because the title was like not my bag. But since they talked about it was really funny and actiony, and I was like, oh, that sounds like my thing. So I went and watched the first 2 episodes. Sure enough, like I like it a lot. It's like The Player, but a little bit more comedic. A little more comic booky, definitely not as OCN. You know, it's not OCN on any level. It's more.
It makes me think of Chief Kim, kind of like the stuff that I'm seeing of those. It kind of looks a little like that. I want to watch it because it's the writer from Angry Mom, and I love Angry Mom. So
yeah, I haven't gotten to the meat of because he's going to kind of pretty much go up against corruption on some level.
That's very Chief Kim.
What? In a K-drama?
And
you lie.
But as far as they're probably going to go deeper with that and the first and they might be broken up into 30-minute. So I might have actually watched 4 episodes. They're that type of 2 hours but 4 episodes. And it does have Kim Kyung-nam in it, the guy from Where Stars Land and Come and Hug Me.
Yeah, Come and Hug Me. I really like him. Also, it has is it Ryu Duck Han? He was in. Why am I blanking out on everything? He was on Miss Hammurabi, but he was also on the show that I really like, God's Quiz.
What was kind of nice, and I don't remember which episode it was, there was a flashback to where the Kim Kyung-nam's character was in high school, and the main character guy was a teacher, and it's funny because Kim Kyung-nam actually looked like he was in high school. Like, they did a really good job giving him a haircut, made him look like that, and he was pretty much a bad kid that the teacher was trying to slap good into, and he was pretty much successful at it. And so their relationship is very funny to see as adults, like give and take and helping, because it's obvious that the main character really shaped this guy who's now still kind of a crappy guy, but he has some morals too, so it's just kind of funny. It's very surprisingly good in my opinion. It's like The Fiery Priest, but I don't know, sillier on some levels, but like not as ridiculous. I don't know, more workplace things involved, so less religion, more workplace. That's the trade-off.
Fair. That's fair.
And I'm in the middle of a lot of other stuff, but I wasn't able to watch it, so we're gonna play a game.
Do we have a game?
It's not exactly a game but we did talk about the same week that IU's Persona films came out, BTS, you guys might have heard of them, released an album also called Persona.
Can you tell me about this BTS or behind the scenes?
I'm not really familiar.
Can you paint a picture of them? I don't know if I know them. But maybe I do.
Is this some sort of some sort of obscure indie band that, like, I'm not aware of.
Something about Bulletproof Boy Scouts? I don't know.
Something about that. I actually still love how they pretend like that just never happened. Like, that's not what that's not what it meant. I'm just like, we know your shame, sirs. we remember.
Grew up on the internet.
I don't know. So I thought that given that there was two things called Persona released in the same week, perhaps we should, talk about it a little bit. My thing is always with idol actors that they never sing OSTs on their dramas and stuff, and I always wonder why. So like why didn't IU write and have a mini album that came out at the same time as this movie with like a song that was inspired by each section or something, like
weird, because other actors will sing on their OSTs. Like someone has sang on it. Like weird.
Gokun Pyo sang a song on Strongest Delivery Man. Can he sing? No, he cannot. Did I pay money for that? Yes, I did.
Maybe
horrible song.
IU for like as a musician is too expensive for Persona. Like
that actually could be
as an actress than she was.
You think she would? I don't know. It just they never seem to meld together. But I thought that, and I don't know how much we've listened to this, obscure indie band, but I thought maybe we could look at it and say if we were taking that CD and that album and making it like the soundtrack for IU's Persona. Let's pretend that we're connected,
The reason I feel like it wouldn't work at all is because, and don't come for me, Army. I like the album fine, okay? The vibes are too different between.
But the vibes in the movie, the vibes are all so different.
Yeah, but they're also different because I think it's like they're all art films. And this is a very, produced album. So it has, a very conventional feel to it. And so I feel like, there might actually be an argument to be made for, the pairing of a conventional with the unconventional. But I feel like in this case, not so much. That's just my own personal opinion, of course. I know some out there would tell me that BTS is perfect for everything. You do you, boo-boo. But I respectfully disagree. Please don't fire.
I would have to say that if BTS were approached by the creators of the Persona films and they said, we'd like you to write songs for this, I don't think any of these songs are the songs that they would write to go with. Definitely not. I'm just saying, if you had to pick one, which one would you pair? Like a wine pairing, if you would, a wine and food pairing. Which one would you pair to go together? I think personally, my favorite of the films was Walking at Night. And I would probably pair it with Microcosmos or Jamais Vu. Because
I would actually pair it with
lighter. I could see that.
I picked Make It Right, but I'm going to do a caveat. I listened to the album once. And I'm sorry, I'm breaking hearts all on this episode. I don't like any of the songs. So I just went to the lyrics. And
for this time,
picked out.
I'm gonna come for Jessie this time, not coming for me. I said I liked it fine.
Whatever. You don't listen to any of my songs anyway, so whatever. But I also can't justify it now, unless I re-look back on all the lyrics. So guess I could do.
Well, I think that Make It Right would be a good juxtaposition because in the spoiler alert for this art film that really doesn't need any spoilers, the main character, who is not IU as a matter of fact in that one, it's the dude, can't actually make anything right. So it would be an ironic combination.
That's true. I personally put Make It Right as going with Kiss Burn just from the title, because the girls were it's kind of a little revenge story and they're trying to make it right and it doesn't
but they're really bad at it.
Really bad at it.
But it's
They make
also
things
really
sound
funny.
worse.
Like, some of the lyrics found, like, I mean, granted, this is just, like, Google translating it, so bear with it. I mean, like, not actual Google Translate, but, like, someone
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
is translating it.
You
It's not, like,
Googled it,
official
it
BTS. One of their phrases, I could make it better, I could hold you tighter on that long road, oh, you're the light, and this eternal night with no end in sight. That's the line that I was like, oh, that's really good for walking in the night.
Like, I must say,
Yeah.
like, the lyrics are very poetic. So, like, they've always got that going for them. But,
And I do feel like Make It Right does have a bit of a, it's jaunty, but it's got a bit of a
sad, it's,
melancholy
like,
almost
wistful
to
to it.
it. Yeah. So I can
It's
see
like,
that.
it's a little wistful there. Like, there's, like, a little bit of sadness behind it.
I think for Kiss Burn, tonally, Dionysus.
I
Just saying.
agree with that. Or Persona too. Like Persona has a bit of that. Like it's again kind of upbeat, but like also a little darker or deeper or something. Like it.
And what I find interesting is, like, even in Kiss Burn, I can easily say was, like, the funniest of, but it's still real dark.
It's
Yeah.
Kind of
It
like
is.
when you actually, like, think about what's happening in the story, you're like, this is really messed up.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
wait a second.
yeah. Well, and when you're watching them in order, if you watch it right after Collector, which is super dark, you're like wondering just how dark this one's going to be.
I thought it was going to be worse.
progressively getting darker.
Yeah. Speaking of Collector, which one would you see? I was going to put Dionysus with Collector because it's dark and decadent and like
I picked Jamavu. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Jamais vu.
Jamavu. And I think there was actually like a heart line. That's why I picked it.
yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
because
I guess
like
So much.
like the English translation lyrics kind of sounded like the point of view of the guy in that, which is kind of, it's weird because it's his point of view, but it's a skewed point of view. So like, but this felt like really close to what he's actually kind of thinking of IU's character.
So what about Love Set? What would you? I kind of just based off the title, I kind of went with Home because it's like a really, messed up family kind of thing vibe going on. But I don't know. Nothing. I liked Love Set. I liked the I actually really liked the music in Love Set. Like it had a really fun, upbeat kind of tune. So I was sort of like, oh, I guess something like Boy with Love or something where it's jaunty and upbeat.
There's some messed up shit going on in that, but yeah.
Stuff going on in all of it.
Like that could easily be what describes this entire series of films. Yeah.
Which I guess we could, dive into that. Get into
Oh boy.
Persona.
Yeah.
It's IU's Persona, which a 4-part anthology. Which at some point I had read that it was inspired by IU. Like it wasn't just that she starred in all of them, that each director, writer, like looked at her and they were trying to tell a part of her story, a part of her life or her personality.
I could see that with her songs.
I could see that.
Yeah. Which as I'm watching it, I'm trying to like read into it. Like, okay, what are they saying?
Like a lot of it would seem on the surface like not to be that flattering about her. However, I feel like there's something like when you look deeper into it, even in the most messed up of the stories, there's something very familiar about all of them. Like it's sort of like they're demonstrating a heightened version of personality traits that all of us have.
Yeah.
But like set to an extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in the first one, it's like neediness. She's incredibly needy and selfish, and everyone can be needy and selfish. And then
it's also like you're on the bridge of like youth and adulthood, and that's the where the neediness is. It's like she doesn't actually have to care about what's going on, but she is because she's just right at that cusp.
Yeah. And like, who hasn't never hated their stepmom? Like I feel I've never had a stepmom, but I feel like that's a common trope that I
Yeah. Okay, in Love Set, is he actually her dad? Because at one point he's saying, I'm not your dad, I'm not your dad.
Yeah, was he saying that to the dude?
He was saying that to the guy.
I think he was, because the guy kept on saying Abaji.
The guy was calling him Abaji. Okay, that makes sense. Like, this is a weird little...
And then he doesn't actually her dad. That's
what's the thing going on here?
More messed up, but I think he is actually supposed to be her dad, played by my man from Fantastic. So cute.
Oh,
so
actually,
the like actors, not IU actors, were all just in this. Like, very good.
So for Loveset, it actually took me a while to figure out it really was her dad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just her coach at first, and like she called him dad, but then I was like,
no,
think he's really.
But Bae Doona's character was her teacher. Mm-hmm. I think it was her English teacher.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's why she got the English speaking guy to come and try to flirt or whatever with.
It just took me a while to figure out it really was her dad. As far as, at first I thought she was jealous, for the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever that she was watching them. I thought it was actually like jealousy in that way.
No.
I was like, oh, okay.
It is jealousy, but not perhaps of the father.
Way.
Yeah.
Because
there's a different sort of jealousy.
Stuff going on there. So
I think also that it could have been, they probably intentionally did it that way, so you were like a little bit confused about it, but he definitely should have been an older character, an older actor. Like, and then you wouldn't have, like, there wasn't, like, when you were looking at it, you're like, oh, but that guy had her.
He's her, like, teenage dad. Like, he had her when he was, like, 15. Like, he's not actually old enough to, like, be her dad. Not, in a normal lifestyle.
But who knows? But the most intense tennis match you've ever seen in your life comes down. Like, I feel like the dad would have probably been like, oh, she's bleeding? Well, time to call this match off.
Right?
I was freaking out about that.
Yeah.
Bleeding.
Like, does no one care?
He's an
because we needed that symbolism, though. That, like, that's why they left it that way. They needed that.
It was,
they're just intense sports people, okay? Like,
just walk off, I guess. So why was it you guys' favorites? Cause Jesse and Natalia said it was their favorite.
For the Collector?
Oh, it was Collector. Sorry,
Collector,
I thought you said
yes. So the next one in the series was Collector, which, in my opinion, aesthetically was the most beautifully filmed of the four.
I think it,
And, okay, a little background to me. I did go to film school. You can't tell by my YouTube videos, but I did go to film school. And art films are like, love art films. I'm like such a big fan. And that was, for me, the most art film of art films that I've ever seen produced for a mass audience. What I liked about it was that you never really get her point of view. It's all taking place internally in this guy who has built her up and is sort of blaming her for his own mistakes.
Except you kind of do. Like, if you actually watch what she's doing and what she's saying, she's actually saying everything, like, to him, like, directly. And that's, like, the whole point, that, like, you're supposed to, like, not get the, like, good idea of her because of that character. Yeah,
but at the same time, what I like about it is sort of, I really like the concept of an unreliable narrator. And he's a very unreliable narrator because he basically ruined his own life for this girl who just didn't feel the same way about him. Yeah. No. And so a lot of it, I feel, is like being told from the perspective that he has a sort of negative opinion of her because she broke his heart. So he's making her out to be so much, worse than she probably, like, if this was like a story, if this was real life, she probably wasn't as bad as it's being made out because it's
especially because of the age difference.
Dating relationship.
Yeah.
And he thinks they're like.
She clearly, like, if you're looking at it sort of like outside of his perspective, she thought they were just casually, like, seeing each other, and he, like, left his fiance for her. But she didn't know this, nor did she really care, because she was just, like, having a good time.
Well, he also also, like, he kind of wasn't saying the things out loud. Like, it was all like, eternal monologues. And so he wasn't making it clear. He was kind of saying the same things, like, especially at that, like, bar scene where she was, like, she started to really get agitated because he kept on just saying the same, like, spouting the same words to her. And that's why she was getting annoyed, because she was just like, this was supposed to be fun. And they were also purposely playing up with the fact that how young she was and how old he was. And it wasn't just like, you're not supposed to look at the age gap, you're supposed to look at it.
For me, I thought that the reason I liked it the most was because it said the most while saying with the least amount of information. Like, it didn't tell you very much, but you got so much information from what little, like, more like, it didn't need to have any sort of narration or expository language, because you were getting everything you needed to know from, visuals and small lines.
Yeah, the visual metaphors, I think, which, like, really made it, especially, like, seeing the body just floating in the water, or, like, every time that he was in the white room that was obviously, like, set up like a mental hospital, comparing that to love making you mental or crazy. And, like, those kind of, like, scenes, even, like, as gruesome as it was, like, his head getting sliced.
His head sliding off.
Yeah,
and it just back on. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's trying to, like, rebound on the situation, like, fix
yeah,
what's
like,
happening.
she said something that, like, took him aback, and so he has to, like, try to figure out so he can, like, grasp on to this relationship that wasn't really a relationship, and she told him, and she was actually telling him through the entire thing. He was just not listening.
Yeah. To me, it really felt like it was kind of a big metaphor for fans, like her fans, and how fangirls and fanboys see the idol, and they think they have a relationship that they don't have with this person, and that they think that the person is something that they're not. A lot of the things that he said to her, I was like, that feels like the kinds of things that you hear fans say, and you see them writing on Twitter and stuff, and you're like, I know them, they would never, and you're like, you don't know them, like, you know the public image of them
that they put out there.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and what you've built up of them, what you think of them, what you've created in your own mind. It's not even
and I also saw it
out there,
Yeah, I also saw it as, like, a metaphor for how you can never really know what someone else is on the inside. So you can only so unless you listen and actually pay attention to other people, you can't really know. And then you set yourself up for failure, essentially, because this guy he sets himself up by miscommunication on his own part, because she was telling him straight up and he just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
And that's really, at the end, it's like he gets what he deserves. And then, but in his own mind, builds her up as the villain, when in fact he was his own tormentor. He was the villain of his own story. He just still doesn't realize it.
I read an interview, and it was, or not an interview, but a little, like, synopsis on, like, I don't know, some site. It was really small, but the author mentioned specifically that he thought that this tied super closely to her 23 song, which it does, because it has the kind of elements of, like, the nine-tailed fox mythology. Like, she's the nine-tailed fox, except it's the guy making her that. Like, essentially making her that creature. But also she has that imagery in her 23 song. She talks about it. But it's also, like, especially because I was, like, re-listening to a lot of her stuff, that song, she has, like, especially in the music video, she has all those, like, kind of, like, plays on, like, what the industry does to kind of, like, sexualize, minors, which does play into the age gap of the two characters too. So I can, like, definitely see that, like, out of all of her songs, that 23 was definitely, like, a inspiration for this piece.
I just thought it was brilliant. Like,
I thought it was really, really well done. I didn't enjoy it at all. I felt uncomfortable through the whole thing, which I think is kind of the point, but I didn't
Yeah.
enjoy watching it.
I feel like
Oh, and the
you know what I mean?
sound design was incredible.
Oh,
like
it
at the
was so
very
good.
end, it was so good.
So good. Like everything about it was just solid. I think out of like the 4 pieces, that was the one that I don't want to like call out any other directors. So I enjoyed. I thought they were all really good, but that was the best one from a filmmaking standpoint. Like there was, it felt like that one had the most thought that went into the like connection between like
making it all
the visuals. Yeah, like it was a whole piece that just every element worked together to create just beautiful. Wow.
I'm kind of curious if you watched the next one, Kiss Burn. If you watched that first, like I think they're all put in order intentionally as well, right?
Yeah.
But if you were to watch Kiss Burn on its own, would it feel like something completely different than how it feels when you start watching it right after you watch?
Because I watched them all like
In order.
like one after the other, like right in the same chunk.
Yeah.
I think that's how they're supposed to be done, you know? Like
Yeah, but I could see how Kiss Burn would be completely different because I wouldn't have gone off of like the suspense and build up of the end of Collector into Kiss Burn. Like Kiss Burn like should have like immediately been like very playful and like it's kids doing playful things, but like coming off of Collector, I can see that it definitely
it
changed the tone a little.
Darker than I think it necessarily was. You know what I mean? It was not light and fluffy, but I mean, I assumed that they were going to murder the dad, that they were going to accidentally kill the dad. Like,
oh man, I thought way worse than that because the springboarding from the Collector on into that, and the way IU's character trying to find the friend and couldn't find the friend for a little bit, and the dad was being weird. I was like, is the girl automatically dead? Like, what on earth?
She's being sexually abused by the dad.
He sort of
I thought there was all types of stuff.
Was like a real bad dude instead of just a drunk. Like it made it seem like the dad was like doing something janky. But he was just a drunk. Like he was literally just a drunk.
He wasn't a good dad, but he wasn't like a sexual molester, like murder my daughter.
Which we're expecting.
Which is totally the vibe you were getting.
But when you come off the vibe of a short film that ended with her literally taking a beating heart from a guy's chest, you're not really expecting this to just be sort of a weirdly lighthearted, like childish revenge tale where they try to pull pranks on the dad and talk about kissing for the first time.
Yeah, I did have to. I mean, when it ended, I was like, oh, that's why they held off. Because I mean, it ends with the girls accidentally.
But they don't even realize they've done it yet.
No, because they don't notice that the chicken is like on fire, like running away from them.
I like that it was. All the credits were running, and this fire was spreading in the hills, and
slowly over the hills. And
I was like,
that's with the irony that the father's job is to prevent forest fires.
So, like, they ultimately did do the worst thing that they could have done to him, like, was to, like, it kind of was, like, you know, kind of like a Home Alone vibe, too, you know, like, the, like, antics that they were setting up, there was kind of like Kevin setting up all of his traps with the burglars.
I'm just getting foiled by the dad just by sheer luck, like, not. It's like, oh, he accidentally spills some papers and walks on the papers so he doesn't fall in the oil, like, he catches himself when he's about to fall in the bathroom.
I was like, but he could kill himself. You know that, right? Like, he could fall and, like, crack his head open or snap his neck or something. Like, this isn't falling in the bath's not a good idea, guys.
I guess it's also kind of plays with the fact that, like, in the short, they are kids still, but they're, like, doing these kind of, like, adult things, like the cigarette smoking and, like, making out with the guy, like, behind the dad's back. But they're still kids. And it's like apparent because they're not thinking of the real life consequences of what they're doing. They're still in the mindset of children, but trying to be adults, like play acting these adults. So like they don't understand that, you know, it could kill the dad for doing the things that they're doing. But then they're also like, I'm going to smoke now.
Which I'm going to go to the beach with random stranger guys.
Yeah, with
like,
random
oh,
strangers I've never
that'll end well.
Them. But like, I don't know. Like, to the concept of, you know, like a coming of age, like we all do stupid stuff when we're you know, like 14, 15. We all
And
do dumbass stuff.
pretending to be adults when you're not an adult. Far from it.
Yeah.
It felt like a indie movie to me, a coming of age indie movie, like
Yeah.
a scene from one of those.
I just really kind of wish I hadn't watched it right after Collector because I was like so. I will because
You were waiting for something real bad to happen.
Well, like Loveset had a bit of a like incesty vibe, and then you went into Collector that was like weird kind of sexual.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know where I am.
Moving into Kiss-Burn, and you're like, is it just gonna get worse and worse? Like, is it?
It ends on a wistful story. Very, I don't know what wistful isn't even the right word for walking at night. It's more like bittersweet.
It was good. That was my favorite of
The
all.
filming of it was very obviously inspired by like noir films and like Golden Age and stuff, and it was the lighting beautiful in that.
Yeah, that's what I really liked about this one, was that they used black and white because it's in black and white.
Yeah.
And they used it purely for the shadows and the light, but they didn't do any sort of filters to make it look old, which is a lot of times people like do that. They'll do the black and white, and then they'll be like, oh, we're gonna add like a fill, so it's like you scratches or haze or something like that. And I enjoyed that, like, it was all crystal clear. Literally, they were only using the black and white as a device to set you in that they're in a dream sequence. And that they wanted to see the definite shadows in light.
It's like they could have just done it in black and white, but since they did it with the very obvious like noir film styles, like it's really obvious was like when they're in the table and it just has like the brighter light over her eyes, and that's like straight out of like 1940s Hollywood. And so
but it was so great because it was like perfectly crisp, clear, because it was high definition of that, and that's what I loved.
What I liked about that was I felt like it really structured it as this is a memory. So this is his memory. So it's like sort of hearkening back to the past, and this is his past. I think I might be overanalyzing this, but I'm gonna stand by that. What a just.
I thought it was a really beautiful story. Like, it was really, I mean, as it goes, as they're talking, and you realize that, like, without them fully saying it, it appears she's committed suicide, and that's why she's dead. And he's, he's sad, and he can't let go of it, and he can't understand why, is it me?
Himself.
Did I drive you to this? And she's like, you're the only thing that didn't drive me to this. And it's like, is it really her hitting him in his dreams, or is it just him telling himself what he needs to hear to go on in life? But really,
it doesn't even matter.
I like the way that they're walking, and it did that kind of thing that dreams do. It's like, oh, remember we were walking here, when we first met and we were flirting. Oh yeah, and then they like turn a corner, and now they're like somewhere else
at the restaurant
night in a different memory, which is how dreams work, right? Where you walk through a door and now you're in a different house or something.
And interestingly enough, most people do dream in black and white, so that was also an interesting. I actually dream in color. I'm special.
I do too. But so every time I hear that, I'm
Canadians, I think it's a Canadian thing. The Canadians dream in color.
I don't really remember my dreams. But I do like, they also did the thing, like, because you know how, like, in your dreams you're supposed to remember, like, specific, like, memories, but also you can remember something really random. So, like, maybe you pass by someone on the street and that person can be in your dream, too. That kind of what it's, like, seemed like was happening with the couple that was at the restaurant that they were at. But then they also did the thing where, in dreams, like, there's that moment where you're only focused on the one thing going on. So when they're in the street and they're talking about stuff and they're focusing on them and they're the only two moving, everybody in the background, it's like stop. But before the background characters had been walking around too. Like, so it wasn't like consistent through the whole thing. I thought that was a really great like moment in that piece, just to see it, especially because it was almost like a painting, just like the background characters were almost like blobbed out, like, so you couldn't tell, that like someone had a hat on, but they were kind of like less defined.
They were out of focus because they weren't his focus at the moment in the dream.
Yeah, but they were even like kind of, it was almost like it was like messed with, manipulated too.
Yeah.
It wasn't just that it was focusing on the two characters.
Yeah.
I like too
beautiful.
that, like, at the one point he starts crying when he remembers that she's dead, and he starts crying, and she's like comforting him, and then she's like, "You have to stop crying, or else you're gonna wake up, and then we can't talk anymore," kind of thing.
And
And,
then
and every
like,
time
"You didn't
he
even
starts to
cry
get
at my
upset,
funeral."
like he's like he's calming himself down because he doesn't want to cry himself awake and like lose this dream, and it's sad but sweet. Like it just
I thought it seemed like a play, as far as it felt like something that could have been a really good play, as far as the light. It was because of the lighting and stuff, and the way not all that many characters really, because it was just so centralized on them. I don't saying I liked it's kind of strong, but the how they would kind of keep saying, when you wake up, you're not going to remember this. Like that reality that they kind of kept saying that. And then he would even go further and be like, then why?
Yeah, he's
well,
like,
he would try, but he would say, why did you even show up if I'm not going to remember anyway? Like, he would get mad about it. And so all those emotions tied with the fact that if he was trying to comfort himself, or if she was really there in his dream or whatever, he was that frustration of he probably wasn't going to remember, and then he was trying to. And so I liked that conflict. Like, I thought that was, even aside from, her pain, obviously, and there was a lot going on, but I thought that was a nice thing that they actually talked about.
It was a nice denouement from the previous three. Because like the previous three had a lot more heightened things happening, and then this last one be just sort of a wave, like a gentle ocean wave.
Glad that kiss burn was in between, because if you'd have watched that right after Collector, the scene where they're talking and there's like the people stopped in the background, you'd be like, okay, here comes the ghost story part, like, and those people are gonna like attack them and like something.
You'd be like, so did he murder her? No, he did not.
But because you had kiss burn in between, you were like ready to, okay, not all the stories are gonna take me to that place, so maybe this is just what it looks like. Maybe it is just what it is. I liked it. Maybe
my
that's
favorite too.
Why I like it that much is because it did bring it back down, right? Like it was a good ending to the whole thing.
And by the way, to the listeners, they were really short, so I mean they're very accessible.
Like 20 minutes, like they weren't.
Yeah, I don't even think it's like 2 hours for the entire set.
They're all like 20
I literally
minutes long.
watched it in the morning while I ate breakfast. Like,
and they're also divided up on Netflix, which I actually really like. Like, I think you should watch this as a whole, but if you really like strongly feel like you're not going to be able to like handle, maybe you can't handle Walking in the Night because that's like going to be a trigger for you. Like, you don't have to like search through things to like figure out to cut it out. You can just go to that specific one. Yeah, I still think you should watch it. But like,
their title, like it's episode 1 love set. It's not like episode 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have to figure it out. They have their names on them. So
yeah, but they're like I actually really love the like timing on these. Like I feel there are definitely ones that I could go with this longer, but I didn't need to. The 20 minutes was fine.
Netflix didn't pull the whole, are you still watching after the third episode? Yes, put you all through. It's like, we're just going to assume you're going to finish this fourth one now. So that was kind of nice. Because usually after 3 episodes of something, they're like, I think that, like, nobody watches more than 3 episodes at once. Like, you must not be there anymore. And I'm like, Netflix, don't tell me how to live my life. You know I'm still here.
Overall, for me, like, if you put all 4 of them together, it wasn't really quite my thing that I would usually personally watch, because I don't really dig art films. That it's not very accessible for me, I guess. Indie films too, usually it kind of goes over my head. So pretty much the tones of 3 out of the 4 were kind of not quite my thing. And so I was just going to admit to that, as far as it might not be your thing. Like, it was still really done, really well acted, really well directed, all these things. I think it's worth a watch. I'm just forewarning that some people, A couple of them
your
are
thing.
super artsy. A couple of them
It's not a
are kind, you know,
K-drama.
kind
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
if it
definitely
is your
not.
thing though, and you're looking for something similar to that, Top has a show called Secret Message that has the same sort of art film
Which
vibe.
I think was on
to it.
Drama
It
Fever.
was on Drama Fever, so you might have to go to the high seas to
But it's
find
also
it.
short.
It's also short and it's also delightful. It's well done as well.
Yeah.
It was
Not
on
quite
my
as
list to watch, and
not quite as introspective as Persona, but still
Worth the
quite
watch.
good if you can find a copy of it, if you like this sort of thing.
So what were you gonna say, Jesse?
I searched. I really wanted to find somewhere where there was an interview with all the directors, because I really think that they did, with how
Excellent job.
drastic everything is, they did a really good job of making them mesh in a way. Like, that wasn't like they were forcing it to mesh, but like it just worked with, like, as this is like a full like night of presentations on these shorts.
Yeah.
So really, like, I was trying so hard to find somewhere to tell me like what like their process was, because I think it would be fascinating to read about their process. Like, if they wrote these all specifically and then came together and then like
Edited
reworked it,
Yeah.
or they were constantly working together in like the same room. Like, I don't know, like, because like here I know a lot, their writers do it a lot where they all are basically in the same room essentially, like
So
just
they can
random
throw
authors.
ideas off each
Yeah.
other.
And they could all be writing different books, but they're like, you know, they paid for like their little desk space, but they're still there with a collective. So I think like it'd be interesting to see how this actually like came to be, because I did like look, and a lot of the directors I didn't recognize any of their work, and they were also very like short list of things that they've done. And one of the directors for the Burn one, she's fairly young in the grand scheme. She's like our age, but like in terms of the
That's
director's choices.
That's young to be a
So
director.
super young.
Yeah. Yeah, we're,
Yes,
I mean, like, we're
we're so young.
The director of Walking at Night is closer to my age. Maybe.
Like, this is the sort of series that is generally made by younger directors and writers.
it
because
feels like that.
Yeah, because you know there's a lot of risk taking in it, especially for like a Korean audience, because there's so much convention that goes into most Korean films and television. So to see this as sort of like the an indie scene, as it were, that's usually a younger person's game.
Yeah, it's also like genuinely like if you're coming out of film school or producing stuff in film school, this is the type that's most accessible to you, because you don't have to have high production costs, and you can also like play with metaphors more, which like you wouldn't have like this chance to experiment as much as like in the real world when you're trying to like pitch a show and get it actually bought so that you can like have money. That this type of thing is harder to kind of put out into the world. So like usually like students are the ones who are doing this because they have kind of that freedom in their education to get like kind of a little bit more into it. Or when you're a new person coming out into the world, you can like just do whatever just to get films out there.
Which is kind of nice that like a behemoth like Netflix has started picking up things like this, because it sort of makes, because it's very hard to find stuff like this to just watch as a viewer, so without going on like the festival circuit or stuff, but most of us,
Much less an international viewer.
Exactly. So like, if you don't have tickets to TIFF, like it's unlikely you're going to be seeing stuff like this. So it's really nice to see Netflix like putting out, and I've noticed that they've been getting a lot more of like variety of things from multiple international countries lately.
Yeah,
so
not even like Asian countries. It's all over.
Like Portuguese and Brazilian, and like they've got all sorts
I'm watching
of stuff.
something Turkish with my husband now. Like,
and it's wonderful that like a service like this that at its core really is just trying to make money, also is providing this opportunity for viewers all over the world to see what's being produced in countries that aren't the United States of America.
In the past, like a year or two ago or whenever, if you would have asked me what's on Netflix. So it's that really not much, like, it was a weird mix of things back in the day. Like, some mainstream stuff, and then a lot of, like, kind of off-brand weird things that you really don't want to watch, and then a couple of documentaries. Like, that was... Yeah. And then the fact that they've been able to make enough money to move into stuff like this is really nice, and the variety and all the different cultures and stuff is nice.
What I like too is that they're involved in paying for the production of a lot of these, so they're not going to suddenly get yanked when they lose, the rights to it, which happens a lot. So they're going more into going and finding these productions because it's actually cheaper than, say, like paying to put a Disney movie on there. It's literally cheaper to go to Turkey and be like, hey, we'll help finance your thing, and we'll put it on Netflix for an international audience. Like, that's...
Well, and I feel a little bit like somebody was sitting in the room at one point and, like, they're talking about how can we expand our viewership? What can we do? Disney's going to have their own streaming and they're taking everything. What can we do? And they were like, we're in 150 different countries. And in those countries, we're showing them their own stuff. What if we just showed that to everybody? Like,
and then everybody was like, sure.
50 times as much stuff.
And it also helps, like, when it's like a Netflix original, as they call it, or whatever, like, that means that there's no licensing issues between countries like they have. Like, Canadian Netflix is different from American Netflix. But now if they're focusing mostly on stuff that they themselves are producing, it's licensed for everyone because they made it. Like, they paid for it, so everyone gets the same content, which is just so nice.
But,
but it's actually funny because I've noticed that now Canadian Netflix, like, especially with Korean stuff, gets it before America does.
It's so weird.
Just hush.
Finally, Canada's coming on.
Okay. You guys have no idea how bad Canadian Netflix was for so long. It was like, everybody had to be like, well, we have it. And we'd be like, shut up. We have it. I don't care.
Like, it was funny because Canadian Netflix bought all the Star Wars movies before American Netflix did. And I was like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, finally, vindication for Canada.
It's a sign of things to come. We didn't really talk much about IU. She did a really good job. I want to say that.
Phenomenal. I believed she was a different character in every single thing. And, like, that's really impressive, especially when you're watching her back to back. Like, it's not like you see her in a show and then you, like, wait a couple months and then she's in a new show and then you can believe it. It's, like, literally, like, you only have that little countdown to the next episode till it's a new thing. And I believed that she was a different character.
She was very different characters in every single one, and it was, she sold it well.
And I had never actually seen her in anything before, so I was really impressed.
I've seen her in a few things, and I quite enjoy her. I know a lot of people said she wasn't that good in Scarlet Heart, that her acting wasn't that good. I'm not sure that it wasn't, that she wasn't just being the character that she was supposed to be, but she was phenomenal in Maya Jushi. Like, phenomenal. She
was also the best part of Dream High, which was not good. Like, from any stretch of the imagination, was not good. And I will admit that, like, her as a fat character was not really believable, but that wasn't really her fault. That was the fault of the fat suit. So she was good in that. She was cute. She was supposed to just be cute and sweet, and she was. And, like, I thought she was fine in Scarlet Heart because, like,
I thought so too, but, like,
she was acting,
like, maybe my drama, so, like, what do I know at that point,
like,
right?
What I felt a lot of people were like, oh, like, she wasn't as believable as the other characters. I'm like, yeah, but she was supposed to be a modern person who was suddenly transported back in time. Yeah. Like,
she's not supposed to.
She's not supposed to be as, like, confident as, like,
all these guys fall in love with her because she's so weird and different.
Yeah. So, like, don't be like, she didn't act like she was in the past. I'm like, no shit, she wasn't supposed to. You kidding me with this?
But, I mean, like, that coupling, like, I haven't watched it either, but, like, that coupling is so, like, such a fan favorite. She had to have been doing something right, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
I
can understand, like, having a good, like, actor like that you could feed off of and like it's easy to like create chemistry for, like that helps. But like to have it consistently be that like everybody still like will see stills from that and just comment, have emotions that bring up because of that.
She really, did something. Like, the two of them should really make like a rom-com together or something where they can just be happy. Like, because like if you even see them, like they went on Knowing Brothers together, and it was like they had like 2 episodes of them, and just like them together is just a delight. It was really funny. I was telling Briggsy, my husband, about how I thought he'd like Persona because he likes art films and stuff, and he was like, "What idol group was she from again?" I was like, "No, honey, no. She was never in an idol group. She was a soloist from the beginning. Let's get this straight." He was like, "Oh, my bad." Like, too good for an idol group. IU, damn it.
I remember when she and GD had that
duet.
Like,
the duet.
But yeah, they're right. And there were people who were like, do you think, I can't remember what it was. It was like one interview or something, and people were like, they seem really close. Do you think they're, and I'm like, okay, personality-wise, I cannot imagine the two of them together. No. But like, can you imagine? Because she's literally like the queen.
That would be like all these the ultimate in K-pop.
They would like
royal
K-pop. Like they would just. They would reign as the king and queen.
Just like, that, like, talent. Just, like, in one room. You're like, okay, like, I don't know.
Damn.
South Korea would explode. That's what would happen.
Right?
Their mind. But, it's really funny, because I don't know if anyone would be that upset about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it would be one of those things where even, like, hardcore fans would be like, you know what? I support this. I support this. This is only good.
That can't be bad.
Yeah.
I have this picture of the two of them just like sitting on thrones in this room, and like every other K-pop group has to come forward and like present their song, and then like
I like judges and they give you a little sheet.
Or no, like it's either the thumbs up or the thumbs down. Whether they
gladiator style, like Joaquin Phoenix giving the.
They also seem like really great human beings, so they'd probably also write comments. They'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to work on this and this and this, and come back in a year and you'll be great."
Now, the only thing that really, it doesn't bother me about IU. It just worries me about IU is that her agency makes her be so skinny, and you hear about like these diets she goes on. I'm like, girl, eat some. And sandwiches.
I think
like, it was like, what was it? It was like she ate like an apple.
And it was like
her diet was like an apple, a sweet potato, and green tea was like all she ate all day for like weeks. And I'm like, that's not enough food.
No. You actually eat like calories to like do things like pump your heart. You do realize that like that's why you're eating. It's not just like
like okay, like
protein
to live.
Like, I love a good meal. It's pretty clear when you see me. I'm not starving myself, but like you need a little bit more than an apple, a sweet potato, and green tea.
Yeah,
especially as a performer. Oh my goodness,
you're performing, acting, like you're traveling all over the place. Like, how is she alive? It actually like really hurts my heart.
Yeah. How does she sustain her notes? Because like you don't have any breath at that point because your like body's like, no, we got to put you on like slow down mode because you need your
Wednesday. She just looks so frail and little, and I just want to like hug her and make her some chili and make her eat food. It really makes me sad. Like, just like, please eat. Girl, don't listen to your agency. Gain 20 pounds and you'll be fine.
Girl,
like,
you're on top of the world. Just eat. Like, what are they going to do? They don't eat. They're
like,
going
to
off you, sure, okay.
Like, she doesn't have a frame where she would ever be large. You know what I mean? Like, she's very small.
This has been Natalia's rant for this episode.
Well, this has been another fun, hopefully, episode of Certified Nunas. You can find us wherever you're listening to us, but also on Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, Podbean, and YouTube. We have a new thing starting. If you really like us, we have some fun content planned for the rest of the year, but it does cost a little bit of money to to do this. And if you really would love to support us, we now have a Ko-fi page that you can come give us some donations. We're going to be putting up some like stuff that gets cut out of the episodes, maybe some fun little downloadables, art stuff. Who knows? We get up to things, and some little extras behind the scenes. So yeah, we would really appreciate it. No pressure. We'll put the link in this, and in this, in the description.
The thing that I'm pointing to.
I'm talking like I'm on YouTube. I'm just like pointing.
You're like down in the description bar.
Like the links are down here. It's like, no, this is not YouTube. Stop it. Really appreciate it. And if you want to keep hearing our hot takes on everything and you have a couple bucks to spare, we really appreciate it. Otherwise, we hope you have a great week. And if you haven't already, you should check out Persona on Netflix. All right. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.